Wow, that was a weak start to a Thursday night live here at Screwballs.
Come on, Cindy,
I was all excited.
Come on, Carm.
I mean, all this
Carmella,
hype.
get on the table.
This big crowd here tonight, and that's the way we open the show. You know what?
Do it again.
You know what? Scratch the start of the show. Nick, that's a re-rack. That was horrible.
All right, we're going to crush it.
Here we go.
Ted, get up here.
Here we go.
All right, here we go. Chris, are you rolling? Okay. There we go. Welcome in, everyone, to the road to Glendale as we come to you on the JAKIB Sports YouTube network, live from our best spot in the Delaware Valley. The road to Glendale rolls right through Screwballs, along with Rob Ellis and the coach, Henry Racich, and a great crowd here tonight. I love the energy that is in the room.
This crowd.
And we will, Rob, we will select a lucky winner tonight from our 3 qualifiers who will be in the link on Sunday for the 3 p.m. kickoff. What an experience it will be on Sunday. But before we begin tonight, and before I turn it over to you, Rob, to kind of quarterback us through this broadcast, which, by the way, has NFL insider John McMullen joining us after the first break. I do want to blow some smoke up Henry's ass, if you don't mind.
Give it to me. Go, give me my just dessert.
All right.
Give it to me. Come on.
If you want, you've heard this before. Let's go to the tape. If you go to the tape of last week's broadcast, the coach absolutely nailed exactly how that game was going to play out, right down and to just about the final score of the game.
The floor is yours, Henry. You nailed it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that after 5 years on the air. I get a little love for one of my picks. But no, I just felt like, the Eagles have been sitting around stewing, waiting for this playoff run to start. And let's face it, their roster and the Giants roster are light years apart from each other at this point. But, they were fired up. The fans were fired up, and they just came out and smoked them from the door.
Honestly, man, that's as good as they can play. And that if they play that way, nobody's beating them. Their A game's better than any of the 3 other teams that are still standing. If the Eagles play like they played, and I know it was the Giants, and San Fran's way more talented, but if the Eagles are able to, really all 3 phases, even the special teams wasn't terrible, but if they're able to execute the way that they did in that game, the Eagles are in really good shape here, Joe, to head to Arizona.
Well, let's give Henry a chance to double down or double up right away here in the opening segment. When you play that well, Coach, against a team that is below your talent level.
Right, which you should. You should blow them off the field.
You should blow them off the field.
Right.
You cannot make the same statement about the conference championship game and the San Francisco 49ers, or do you?
No, I feel like this game is their biggest, hardest test of the year. They're playing against a powerful offensive team. I'll tell you what, the Eagles linebackers are going to be the tail of this defense, because with Debo coming out of the backfield, McCaffrey coming out of the backfield, the linebackers step up their play. They have to. They have to play their best game as a linebacking core on this weekend. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the middle of the field for the Eagles defensively is where this game's won and lost. I couldn't agree more, because they have the perfect kind of guys for that kind of football. They don't ask Purdy to launch it down the field. He's getting the ball out quickly, which means it's going to be McCaffrey, who's the best receiving back in football. It means it's Debo, who didn't play all that well last week, who's going to be angry, by the way. And it's Kittle. And we saw what he's capable of with that huge catch last week that he taps up to himself and still makes the play. That's going to be critical. I'll tell you, from an offensive perspective for the Eagles, Lane Johnson didn't even allow a pressure last week with the injury. We were all concerned about that, how he was going to hold up, right? If he holds up this week and doesn't let Nick Bosa wreak havoc, and you give Jalen Hurts time, Jalen Hurts can make some plays down the field because the weakness, in my opinion, of the Niners is their secondary. You should be able to attack that secondary and their corners. You should be able to do some damage there.
Well, there's a lot of ground to cover. I mean, right away, listen, Lane Johnson is the best right tackle in football.
I think he's the best tackle in football.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep.
And I agree. And I agree with that. Now, Bosa is going to be a little bit
this
more
is
of a
story.
challenge. Mm-hmm. And if that injury, if there is a possibility that the injury is going to be tested, it certainly will be tested with Bosa coming out.
I agree. I mean, he's nasty. The thing is, there's a big drop-off, Joe. You go from 18.5 sacks with Bosa. Their next leading sack guy has 5. So it's not to say their defensive line isn't good, but they're not ferocious at getting after the quarterback. He's the one, if you can contain him. Is Lane going to be able to hold up physically? Are they going to give him some help? That's going to be the major question as far as I'm concerned. But if Lane looks anything like Lane of last week, that's a good sign for the Eagles.
I feel like the Niners are going to hit Jalen Hurts every time he goes to give. Their linebackers are nasty. Now, the Niners have some nasty linebackers. So I feel like Lane Johnson's going to get tested early in the first quarter. If he can survive, the first couple series of Bosa. Bosa's going to slow down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But if anyone's going to test that abdomen there, that pec area, it's going to be Bosa. So
there's no question.
What a great game, though. I mean, this is so this weekend we have 2 Super Bowl type games going on with the top 4 teams in the league.
I was going to say, I think you absolutely have the best 4 teams still playing. This is like the heavyweights. There's no upstart. This isn't Villanova 1985 kind of underdog getting in there. This is all the big boys playing in this game.
Well,
that's exactly what you want, too.
Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is on this unusual, incredible run.
Yep.
He has yet to waver in terms of, at least from what I've seen, he's yet to waver under the pressure of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big stage, and he is now 7 in a row?
Yeah, he's been unbelievable, Joe. And here's the crazy thing is, I was saying this to Coach earlier, he hasn't played an NFL game off of the Pacific time zone. This is the first time he's played on the East Coast in the pros. He did it in college, obviously. How much does that affect him? How much is this raucous crowd? I mean, the last game he played was, in the friendly confines. Last couple games he played were in the friendly confines of their place. If there's ever going to be a moment, it's Super Bowl II, but if there's going to be a moment up until this point of the journey, it would be this one where he would start to look like a rookie to an extent. He hasn't faced a pass rush like this, right? He hasn't faced a pass rush that feels like every game they're getting 5 sacks per game. They got 5 last week. This is going to be a true test because other than Trent Williams, this is an offensive line that is susceptible. Their right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, who's a local kid, went to Notre Dame and Penn Charter, he's okay. The rest of the line is okay. The Eagles' defensive line should be able to eat against these guys minus Trent Williams.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of the Niners line are outside, the tackles.
Yeah.
They're a little shaky in the middle, but I feel like, Purdy he's kind of like a Nick Foles story a little bit, going on here, but he's played on the big stage before in college, and it doesn't look like the pressure bothers him. I mean, because really he's not supposed to be here. What's there to have the pressure? I mean, you're in a big game, but he's not supposed to be here. This is like a fluke.
Yeah.
And he just keeps stepping up and getting the job done. He doesn't make the big mistakes. That's what you need a young kid to do, not give the game away.
Yeah, I will say this.
Yet.
He got fortunate twice, and this happens all the time in games, but Dallas dropped 2 picks last week. The Eagles can't make that same mistake. If he's going to give you it, you better take it away. And if they potentially get Avonte Maddox back and you can move C.J. Gardner-Johnson back to that safety spot, it's going to be huge. Getting back to your initial point of who's going to handle Kittle, who's going to handle Debo, who's going to handle McCaffrey. If you have all of those guys back, your quality slot corner and C.J. Gardner-Johnson back, that bodes really well for the Birds.
Yeah, Avonte Maddox, there was video of him today working out a little bit. John McMullen actually pushing it out on the JAKIB Twitter channel or on Twitter today of Avonte working out at practice. We'll ask John about that coming up after our first break. The other little interesting dynamic about Brock Purdy, and this comes from your partner on Sports Take, and of course a great Eagles reporter in his entire history here in Philadelphia, D. Gunn, said last night on Gun on One, he was in a conversation with Barrett Brooks last night, and he's been looking at the Purdy tape. So he's been watching his games, and the one point that Gunner stuck to, he gets the ball out quick. So when you say the Eagles should eat, they still got to get to him. And if he's out that quick, that's going to make that a little bit more challenging.
That's where having really good coverage helps, right? You can't get rid of it that quickly if you're covered well. I would say two things to watch with Purdy. He's been phenomenal, right? There's two things he does that are dangerous that I would worry about a little bit if I'm a Niner fan. One, he throws off his back foot a lot. He throws a lot of fading kind of passes. The other thing he does is when there's a heavy pass rush, he turns his back to the line of scrimmage when he's scrambling sometimes. So if you continue your pursuit on him, you might be able to get him down if he's doing that. That's a dangerous way to go, and that could mean really big losses of yards. Not just 7 yards, not 10 yards, 20 yards if he's doing that pirouette routine. That's two other things to keep in mind. But you're right, he doesn't turn it over, and he gets it out quick. Shanahan has designed an offense that's very foolproof for him, and it's very smart the way that they've gone about this.
Yeah, I mean, last week against Dallas, and they'll probably do it again this week against the Eagles, because the Eagles have a tougher pass rush than the Cowboys. They rolled him a lot to his left last week, which is crazy.
It's strange.
It's very strange.
For a right-handed quarterback.
Yeah, but it throws off. So, as a defensive lineman, you have a point in the backfield. Everyone's triangulating on that point where that pocket is, right? So he's constantly bailing to the left to buy more time, to find his checkdowns. So, and he's athletic. So it's not like they're letting him sit in the pocket against the Eagles as a sitting duck. That's not good. They're going to move this kid around as much as possible.
Yeah, and he's not a statue. He's got mobility. Right. So he's got good pocket mobility. And look, they dealt with that last week with Daniel Jones, so they're not unaccustomed to it. But he is not a guy who's just going to stand there and pat the ball. He's going to buy himself a little bit of time to make the pass.
One thing I do like about Shanahan as the head coach, he has the ability to correct on the fly. Yeah. So if Purdy's not out of the box quickly, he has the ability to go in at halftime and adjust, and his team can adjust to the adjustments.
Yeah, I think one thing that's going to be big too in this game is we're worried about a couple things with the Eagles with Avonte Maddox and potentially Lane Johnson, but how healthy is McCaffrey? Because we saw even in that game last week, he's working on that calf all the time. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Now, I think they're just saving him up. Why use any bullets on the practice field? But is he going to be able to stay in the game? He had to keep coming out.
He was only in on third down last week by the end of the game. Yeah,
and he made some effective plays, but what capacity is he at? Is a big question for this one.
Well, the Niners can run the ball.
Yeah.
So
Elijah Mitchell's good.
Minchell's a stud. That guy runs forward running. He's like a battering ram.
Yep.
So if I'm the Niners coach and staff, those little quick dinks out to the perimeters to try to wear down that defensive line, let them run perimeter, sideline to sideline. You're not going to go right down the gut of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
You got to wear them down on the perimeters a little bit, and then go over top right behind these backers. So if the backers don't show up, if Debo and McCaffrey start sliding out with their little arrow routes and stuff, it's going to be a long day for the Birds.
It's a big Kaiser White day. It's a big Kaiser White day because he's got the speed to be able to cover. He's going to have to do it. He hasn't been as good lately. He was better earlier in the year, but he's got to be good in this game. T.J. Edwards isn't as much of a cover linebacker as he is a support run linebacker. But Kaiser White's got to play well in this game.
One last thing before we go to we take our first break here on the road to Glendale from Screwballs in King of Prussia. And, man, what a season it's been for us
here
at Screwballs. Everybody that has come out all season long. And, of course, one lucky winner tonight, one of our 3 qualifiers, will be in the link, and it will be, they talked about...
3 o'clock game, I noticed. They moved that up.
And Henry, they talked about how amazing it was at Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies. Right. But that was all the rage. Right. Well, the link on Sunday, I think, is going to be to another level above what was just incredible at Citizens Bank.
Bank died down a little bit over the course of the game. I think they stay up.
Yeah, right.
Because it's going to be a tight game. This is going to be a great football game to watch live. And I noticed they moved it to 3 o'clock. I guess the late game didn't work for the NFL. Do we have a stat on any arrests, or did the judge come back?
Yeah, I think right. Yeah, I think the big thing is it was so loud during the Giants game that the Eagles had to go with a silent count. That's when they were on offense. Usually the crowd gets it and they quiet down when the offense is. This is going to be insane. This is what I'm saying.
It's a Philly thing.
We're really going to find out about Purdy and if he's able to keep that same level of calm that we've seen so far, because this is a different animal, what he's going to see on Sunday.
Well, what do you expect? One last thing before we go to the break, then we'll get to the break, and we'll get John McMullen, who's waiting patiently for us to get him in. We'll get McMullen in. One last thing on the 49er offense against this Eagles defense. If the Eagles are going to win this football game, is it because of the defense? When you're playing a team that matches up that well, that this team is talented.
Yeah.
Now, you can go position by position, and when you get to the end of the chart, say that the Eagles are better at most positions. Not all, but at most. But
I just think they're deeper. The Eagles are deeper.
Generally, you're saying?
Yeah, in general. I feel like our offensive line against their offensive line, Eagles advantage. Their backs against our linebackers, they have an advantage. Their receivers against our D-backs, we have the advantage. So when they're on offense, it's more favoring the Eagles. Now the defense for the 49ers is probably the top three, right?
Oh yeah, top. They're number one in points against the rush, yard. I mean, they're nasty.
Listen, they're a super aggressive defense.
Yep.
This is where this offense that Sirianni runs, it reminds me, remember the Titans. Just keep on running. It's like Novocaine. It's eventually going to work. It's over the course of the game, I think they're going to have to wear this Niners defense down. Little misdirection.
Yep.
Hurts is going to run the ball probably a little more than he did the last 2-3 weeks. He's healed up more. But it's a slugfest, man. It's like a heavyweight.
Yeah,
you can't ask for anything better.
Let me add one thing to that point. Don't give up on it early if you're not popping it for 8 yards. If you're getting 2-3 yards, that's okay. Wear them down. Stay with it. It's going to work eventually. I mean, you didn't get 268 by accident last week against the Giants. I know how good San Fran is, but you got to keep staying with it and not abandoning it. We've seen the Eagles do that sometimes. They can't do it in this game. They can't turn this into a throw fest, because then that's when Bosa really is going to get loose. If you're dropping back 45 times.
All right, good stuff in our opening segment as we broadcast to you live across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the JAKIB YouTube channel, and you might be at the NFL draft.
Ooh.
Who knows? Coming up in April, the draft this year is in Kansas City.
All right, barbecue.
And we will, of course, be live down at Ocean Casino Resort for the NFL draft. We'll be wall-to-wall. Rob Ellis, you'll be there quarterbacking.
Yep.
And the entire crew from last year, Seth Joyner, Mike Quick, Derek Gunn, all will be back. Henry, you'll be down there. The coach was there last year, right? You were at the draft last year. We'll get to a commercial break. Back on the other side with John McMullen.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
My name is Fran Salerno, and I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Jeff D'Ambrosio doesn't need a special event to appreciate his customers. Jeff shows his appreciation to them every day of the year. Jeff makes sure to stock more new inventory than anyone and guarantees prices and payments that nobody can beat. There are so many reasons that thousands of customers know Jeff is the easy, friendly place to do business. more for their trades. No judgment zone for credit issues. The best, most reliable service department in the country. That's why I like Jeff, and I know you will too. Jeff will satisfy you every day. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown, Owner Appreciation Event.
And back here on the road to Glendale.
All right, baby.
In front of a packed house tonight.
Great crowd.
At Screwballs. The road to Glendale goes through Screwballs in King of Prussia. And our Thursday night rolls on, Rob Ellis.
Yes.
And Coach, as we love coming out. We're in this is the end, I think, now of our third year, Ted. I think it's our third, right? Yeah, so the end of our third year.
It's been good karma all year.
It's really good karma. We'll see what happens on Sunday, and, of course, a win on Sunday. And then we'll release the Screwball schedule for the game. I'm not exactly sure how many shows we will do from here.
We're going to do win-losses. We're going to release the schedule and do it now.
Yeah, and then we'll figure it all out. NFL insider John McMullen, co-host of Birds 365, has covered every single Eagles football game with the exception of one. And that exception was at my request because I wanted John McMullen to be home for Christmas this year.
Oh, very nice.
So I didn't send him to Dallas because I couldn't see John or anyone sitting in a hotel after the game and then flying back home on Christmas Day. Now that snapped a big streak for John McMullen, but he is still with us.
He's still our Cal Ripken, Lou Gehrig.
No doubt about it. Johnny Mac, welcome in to the road to Glendale, brother. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
John, if we couldn't be doing well at the way this season's gone, it's a problem with us. You know what I mean? It's an us problem. That's for sure. John, let me ask you about this.
Yeah, I don't know how many people saw it going this way, but this team has overachieved to the point I think people forgot they were so good by mid-season. They forgot what they expected early in the season, and that's kind of why Nick Sirianni wasn't in the Coach of the Year finalist.
It's actually a really good point. This is a team that won 4 games not all that long ago. It's amazing, the turnaround here. I want to ask you about this one, John. We know how good this Niners defense is generally and against the run, but we also know the Eagles are capable of running the ball very well. 268 last week against the Giants. Certainly a whole different team, this Niners team versus what New York was. But let me ask you, how big a key is that running the ball, staying with it, and not becoming one-dimensional against this defense for the Eagles' offense?
Yeah, I mean, one of the strengths, I think, of Shane Steichen as a play caller is he really does kind of feel out an opponent and kind of praise on what they're, trying to take away. If they're overloading the box and trying to stop the run, he'll throw it down the field. If they want to play light boxes like sort of the Eagles do defensively, he'll run it down their throat. So I really do think because, I asked Shane, Zach Pascal was playing a little bit more than Wes Watkins last week, and he was playing a lot of 12 personnel with Jack Stoll along with Dallas Goedert. And I asked him, was that the game plan? He said, no, not really. They just weren't doing a good job stopping the run, and we decided to sort of double down on that. And I think that's his strength as a play caller. So if you look at the San Francisco team on paper, they're very good stopping the run. They're not as good when it comes to explosive plays. They give up a lot of explosive plays. Not a lot, but compared to what they are as the number one defense in the NFL, they're susceptible to it. So I think he's going to feel them out like he feels out everything. And obviously, if the Eagles get a big lead, well, they're going to start running the football.
Yeah, no, listen, I hear you. But I'm with you that if there is an area with them, you can hurt them in the air a little bit if you get time. Now, the big thing is if you get time, they didn't have the high sack total as a team that the Eagles had, but we know that Bosa and a couple of those other guys can really wreak havoc. That's where it's at as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the good news is, John, you got Lane Johnson through the game last week. You got him through it, it seems like in pretty good health. And he was his old self in terms of not giving up any pressures or any quarterback hits or sacks for that matter. I mean, that's a heavyweight battle right there if it's him and Bosa.
Yeah, it is. And, Bosa is going to be the defensive player of the year. I can't even tell you the last time Lane Johnson's given up a sack. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's been so dominant. And they move him around, too. So Jordan Mailata is going to see Nick Bosa as well. It's strength versus strength. I think that's probably the most interesting matchup, individual matchup of this game. He's really good. In a lot of ways, I think Nick Bosa is sort of the 49ers version of Lane Johnson. From this perspective, when Lane, we all know the stats, when Lane is on the field, typically the Eagles win the football game. When Nick Bosa is on the field for the 49ers, ever since he got drafted, they typically win. They went to the Super Bowl his rookie season. He got injured his second season. They struggled. He was back last season. They made it all the way to the championship game. Should have went to Krausey Tart, picks off a Matthew Stafford pass. And here we are again. They're in the championship game. So in a lot of ways, he's their Lane Johnson. He's been that dominant of a player. He's very difficult to block. And we all know how the Eagles play offense. They don't like to help their tackles. Nobody plays more empty sets than the Eagles. And that's because they have such confidence in Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata holding up. Can they hold up against Nick Bosa? It's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah. NFL insider John McMullen joining us here on the road to Glendale as we broadcast to you on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Good stuff, good energy. Henry, I'll come to you in a moment. I just want to sidebar real quick. To John, all that conversation last week, John, about, the Giants should have never deferred when they lost the toss. They should have never deferred and given Jalen Hurts the football to open the game. Should San Francisco defer?
It's a good question. I mean, from San Francisco's perspective, they want to shorten the game like the Giants. There's no question about it. That's their path to victory. But the difference is they do have a really good defense, the Giants. Not that it's terrible, but it's certainly not a dominant defense. They're much improved. But this is the number one defense in the NFL. So that's the strength of their team, even though they have tremendous playmakers. I do think they will defer in that type of situation simply because that's their best unit. And what you always want to do in the NFL is sandwich the second and third quarters with scores. That's your hope. If you can do that, you're probably going to win the game. So I think in this perspective, it's a little bit different simply because San Francisco's defense has been so dominant this season.
John, nobody has really stopped this Eagles offense all year. I mean, there's been a couple games where teams have had 15-play drives. They've eaten a lot of clock to keep the Eagles off the field. Do you think that the Niners backers will be a pretty big part in stopping Jalen Hurts from pulling and going? Will they be more aggressive with their backers inside?
Well, these are the best linebackers in the NFL, the best tandem of linebackers in the NFL, Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw. So this is as good as it gets. The whole thing of the dual threat quarterback, it's a math equation. It's, the so-called +1. So you have one extra player in the running game the defense can't account for. That doesn't change because the linebackers are really good. It changes from the perspective of they're going to do a better job handling the +1 most likely, but that's the conundrum everybody faces with the Eagles, and the other part is that they can throw the football. So Jalen has improved to such a degree when he's throwing the football that you can't just overload the box, commit more bodies to stopping the run. And that's sort of the pick your poison that you were discussing, and that people really haven't stopped this Eagles offense, at least when Jalen was healthy. And he's relatively healthy enough to where the zone read mechanics are back into the plan, so that the 49ers are facing that same conundrum. They just have better players to face it.
John, we talked about it earlier. How critical are the Eagles linebackers here when you're dealing with guys who work well in the middle of the field and in space, whether it's Kittle, whether it's McCaffrey, Debo, who really didn't have a monster game last week? How big is it for these guys to be able to handle that crew?
Yeah, I think it's big, but I don't think, people are saying George Kittle versus, whomever, Kaiser White or T.J. Edwards or Marcus Epps or, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. The Eagles play, default quarter coverage, so, they'll play cover 2, cover 6. They'll play, matchup man at times. So, it's not about one player. It's about communicating. It's about passing off players like that in zone. And more than that, they're willing to give up some completions, some of those short completions. The problem is, San Francisco's playmakers, all of them, are great yards after catch plays. So to me, the tackling is what it's about. So whomever catches it, whether it's Christian McCaffrey in the flat, whether it's Debo Samuel on one of those bubble screens, whether it's George Kittle over the middle of the field, you got to tackle him. You got to get him down. It can't be that situation where they're going yards after catch. Because Brock Purdy's not going to throw the football outside the numbers. He's not going to throw it downfield consistently. They might take a shot or two out of play action, but that's not going to be a consistent part of their plan. All the short stuff and those guys making plays in space, that's a big part of their plan.
John McMullen joining us tonight on the road to Glendale. Johnny Mac, I will not ask you for your pick tonight. If you want John McMullen's prediction on this game, tune into the JAKIB Sports pregame show on Sunday. Johnny Mac will be live down at the link. He'll join Mark Farzetta, Derek Gunn, and Seth Joyner, and he will give his prediction on the Eagles and the Niners. And Nicholas, your buddy Nicholas, John, said you did a good job. How's that?
You just made John.
I appreciate that.
You made his night.
Sure,
You just
so
made
much
it
better.
That's your buddy. We got it. Johnny Mac, great stuff, brother. Appreciate it, man. We'll see you tomorrow on Birds 365. Thank you, Johnny Mac.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
All right, good stuff from John McMullen. We will get to a break, right?
Yes, we will.
Henry, you're in charge.
Henri.
What do you want to do? You want to go to a break?
Want to go to a break?
Let's break it.
You were so good last week.
You get
I'm
to
still
make the
good.
call.
Oh, okay.
You were so good on the program last week. You decide.
Well,
Let's break because Nick's giving me a headache.
we'll break, but before we do, just
I love
know
you, Nick.
We're going to get a prediction from Henry later, too. And Henry nailed last
Let me
week,
get
so
my
you
crystal ball.
you want to stick around and find out what that prediction
All
is.
right, the road to Glendale goes through Screwballs.
Might not
Back
like
in a
it.
moment.
My name is Ivan Taki. I'm a Philadelphia born and raised artist, entrepreneur. Been doing this for 27 years. I got pulled over by an officer and I was wrongfully accused for something that I didn't do. So at that moment, I didn't think of nobody else to call.
My name is Fran Salerno, and I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Jeff D'Ambrosio doesn't need a special event to appreciate his customers. Jeff shows his appreciation to them every day of the year. Jeff makes sure to stock more new inventory than anyone and guarantees prices and payments that nobody can beat. There are so many reasons that thousands of customers know Jeff is the easy, friendly place to do business. More for their trades, no judgment zone for credit issues, the best, most reliable service department in the country. That's why I like Jeff, and I know you will too. Jeff will satisfy you every day. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown, Owner Appreciation Event.
And back here on the road to Glendale, rolling right through Screwballs. Great crowd.
Unbelievable.
Out here tonight. And
Good job, Nick.
Come on, Nick. One lucky winner. Oh, wait a minute. Is my audio gone now? Is my audio good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, good.
Now we're good.
One lucky winner tonight from our 3 qualifiers.
Right.
And all 3 qualifiers will perform the Eagles fight song.
Okay.
That's nothing unusual. We do that every week. Wait a minute. Which one, Nick?
Yeah.
No, 2 is off. That's a dead mic. Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. So all 3 qualifiers will perform.
That's how we decide?
The audience in the building will decide.
All right.
All right. So they'll decide when we're breaking down and we're clearing out some room. We'll put the mic out there.
If Henry had to be like Simon Cowell, I don't know what was going on.
No, you don't want that.
Okay.
No, we don't want that.
All right.
Crank.
We don't want that. And then we will select one winner who will be in attendance at the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
The 2 losers.
Well, the 2
losers.
runner-ups.
The 2 runner-ups.
Can't use losers today.
We will give the 2 runner-ups will win. They just won't win
the tickets.
The tickets
They'll
to
win
the
something
game.
They're still winners.
They're still winners.
Yes.
Yeah. So excuse me for saying loser, but I didn't want to say loser. But the winner will go.
I got you.
The runner-ups will enjoy winning, but not winning at the highest level. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Everybody's a winner.
Right. Everybody in the building gets a participation trophy. I don't want to. Okay.
I was getting a little worried.
We all get it. Nick gets a trophy. We all get.
Yes.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Yes.
All right.
You
Back
get a
here.
prize.
All right.
And you get a prize.
All right. Back here on the road to Glendale. Good conversation with John McMullen. Mm-hmm. One of the wasn't mentioned at all in our conversation with John McMullen. Wasn't mentioned last night. We were out at D'Ambrosio in Downingtown. Seth Joyner, Mark Farzetta, and Devin Caney.
Great spot.
Great spot. You know it from when the Sports Take was there. We were inside last night.
Man.
Didn't come up in conversation.
Yep.
What happened to A.J. Brown? Now, I don't know.
Sulking on the sideline.
Have you talked about it on Sports Take? What do you know? What's going on with A.J. Brown? Maybe it's much ado about nothing.
I think we sat here after week 1, if you guys remember, and the Eagles beat the Lions. It was a pretty close game. But the offense, I think, put up 35, 38 points, whatever it was. If you remember, A.J. had a monster game. There were other guys who had monster games. But Devontae Smith was almost completely shut out, right? And we're saying, oh, my God, is this going to be an issue? I don't think so. I don't think it's an issue at all, Joe. I think, honestly, most receivers want the ball. Most receivers are divas. They're going to complain a little bit on the sideline. They're competitors if they don't get the ball. But I know for a fact he was in the locker room afterwards celebrating with his teammates. He wasn't sulking. He wasn't moping. That's just the extraneous part. The other part is they didn't throw it a ton, right? They run 44 times in the game. They had 44 rushing attempts, so there weren't a ton of opportunities. Devontae had a big game. Dallas Goedert had a nice game. It was just one of those things. I don't think it's a big deal. In fact, I think they probably look to establish him early on Sunday, and I think he has a big game, and it's completely forgotten. I really don't think it's a biggie. I think when you have an offense like this that can do a lot of things with a lot of different people, you don't have that one go-to all the time. So I don't think it's that big a deal.
Yeah, I was watching that in the game, and I actually don't like what he did on the sideline, how he was posturing. We tell young kids, scouts are watching. People are always watching you, how you carry yourself, how your posture. as a coach, I did not like Nick Sirianni came up, put his hand around him, and he kind of like moved his head like as if to be like, get off me, like I'm mad.
Yeah.
Like you don't do that to your head coach. And he reminded me of T.O. a little bit for that couple seconds.
It was
T.O.-ish. Yeah, he was T.O.-ish. And, he's got to realize that this is the offense. There's so many weapons, and anybody could be the star on any given day, and it just wasn't his turn. Like, that's a little selfish. But I'm not saying it's cancerous. I'm not saying this is how he always is.
I think it's odd. I will tell you that.
He had a snippet in time where he reminded me of T.O. With his attitude. And other than that, I'm sure Nick handled it appropriately.
One other thing to keep in mind. He and the quarterback are best friends. I'm sure they've had a million conversations this week. I'm sure they're cool. I'm sure they're good. And I'm sure his buddy, Jalen Hurts, knows it's probably a pretty good idea to get him the ball. Now, I didn't love the way he acted either, but he didn't go like Stephon Diggs where he's screaming at Josh Allen on the sideline either, and he's running out of the locker room.
That was really bad.
That was a really bad
That
look.
was the beginning of the end of that game.
So while he probably crossed that line, I don't think he obliterated it, and I think he also knew to kind of reel it back in a little bit.
I think it's an odd time to do it.
It is when you're winning. Like the Bills at least lost. You get it. Everybody's ticked off, right?
Yeah.
But when you're winning, you would hope in an ideal world that ego doesn't supersede.
But keep an eye on that.
But
keep an eye on that.
We'll see.
Down the road.
I think if he didn't have such a tight relationship with the quarterback, I think maybe you could see it turn into something. I personally think he'll get his, and they'll be okay. I do. I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nothing to be concerned about unless, it manifests itself again in the game. But, I mean, he's just got to – I'm sure Nick Sirianni was like, listen, there's 11 guys out here. 4 of them are great weapons. They can go the distance in any one of their hands. You're not going to get 15 passes every game. It's just unrealistic unless you're just chewing them up. I mean, against the Steelers, he did that. But it's not a big deal. But, I just don't like – if I see that a little bit, that could happen – but things aren't going so well. Imagine if that happened. That's happening when you're up.
Yeah.
If things aren't going well, we might see another tantrum from that guy.
Well, I think the other thing is he tweaked his hip in the game, and I think he was a little bit frustrated that he wasn't 100%. Now, Jalen did miss him on a deep ball, which I think sort of like set everything into motion as time went on. But the Eagles, and Nick will never admit this, nor will Shane Steichen, but I think they'll get him a ball early to sort of pacify him a little bit. It's not like you're doing a charity thing. He's a phenomenal receiver. I think they'll get him going early.
By the way, Frank Reich got the job today in Carolina, so I guess that means Shane Steichen will be here.
There's not a ton of jobs. I mean, Denver or Houston still open, still a chance, but they're starting to go a little. Like another one that was interesting is Nathaniel Hackett got the offensive coordinator job at the Jets. You could see Aaron Rodgers restructure, and then they trade him to the Jets. Don't sleep on that.
That would be terrible to see.
I think it'll happen.
And the Jets, but they're an up-and-coming team.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. That's another domino that could fall. The Sean Payton one is the biggie. Does he end up anywhere, and if so, where?
I mean, I think the Eagles have. I don't want to use the word sold their soul, but they are loaded to win this now.
Yeah.
I think that's 100% right.
I mean, I keep saying how
like if they don't win, Henry,
that's a huge disappointment. I was talking about this with somebody. I said they don't win the Super Bowl. Is that a losing season, or is it okay to be a runner-up? After starting 11-0, and no, this is
it is here.
Yeah,
it's okay to be a runner-up here, but not there.
But my biggest question mark is after this season, can they keep these bodies in the house and be a little bit of a dynasty, a little bit of a run here? Because they have everything you need.
Well, it's going to be hard because they have a lot of quality free agents, and they're going to have to extend Jalen Hurts this summer, which means you can't do what you did last offseason. They knew it. Like when Howie made the trade for A.J. Brown, he said, we're going all in. And they went all in. You're not going to be able to do that now. You had unique flexibility with a second-round quarterback contract, which wasn't eating up cap like Aaron Rodgers, like Roethlisberger back in the day, whatever, whoever. They're able to have some flexibility that they wouldn't have. A lot of these guys, not a lot, but I would say at least half of their quality free agents are going to walk out the door.
I mean, who on this team would be willing to take pay cuts to keep this core together? I mean, you have A.J. Brown. You don't have a ton of, top 3 players in the league on this team. Jalen Hurts, of course.
Yeah,
one of them.
I would say in terms of a hometown discount, the only one you might get on that is Brandon Graham.
Right.
That's it. You're not going to get it with Jalen. Jalen, this is his first massive contract.
By the way, I don't know the answer to this, and excuse the ignorance of the question. Could they franchise tag him?
No, because he still has 1 year left on his deal.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got one more year. But you don't want it to go into the last year like the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. That was ugly.
No,
the whole
that's
year.
a mess.
You
right
can't
now.
have that. So that's why I think they try and get it done with him. But it would be disappointing. All right, let me put it this way. They get to a Super Bowl and they're playing, I don't know, Kansas City or Cincinnati, and it's some crazy game and you end up losing by a field goal. Can I sit here and say the whole season was a disappointment if that's the case? Or a failure? No. I mean, I would say disappointing you didn't win it, but I can't say that's a failure. If they can't get out of the NFC Championship game at their place, it's a highly disappointing situation.
But nobody will be moved. Nobody will lose a job over that.
No.
It'll just be a huge disappointment.
Yeah. It's not a fireable offense, but it would be a bummer. It really would be a bummer.
I think some of the fan base would say if they don't win at all, based on what the body of work has been to this point.
Yeah.
Right? If they don't finish the job, it's a disappointment.
I think so. I think.
The Philly fan is a fan of extremes. They're 4-0. I was hearing Super Bowl talk. They're 6-0. We're going to run the table. We're going undefeated. 11-0. The Dolphins are done. 72-0. I mean, they kind of get ahead of themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's warranted because I don't see a better, more complete roster up and down than the Philadelphia Eagles from day one.
In a very unique situation with the contracts. Now's the time. This is the time to strike. They're not old. They're old in certain positions, but they're not old. But nothing's guaranteed, man. I mean, they were in a Super Bowl, and 3 years later, the coach was fired. They won 4 games. The quarterback had to be traded away. It changes real quick in this league.
Yeah,
whatever
no
it
doubt.
looks like right now.
I mean, that O-line, they got center. They got a good center to come in when Kelsey's done. It's pretty intact. What if Kelsey retired? What if Lane retired?
Yeah.
There's usually a huge drop off, but I feel like they have. If those guys are A players, they got B+ guys that are young.
They could turn
behind them.
A's. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting on the offseason for sure.
Yep.
Well, the game on Sunday, 3 o'clock, the Eagles and the Niners will play in really what will be the best or the most, not the best, wrong phrase, the most competitive game perhaps that the Eagles will have played.
Oh, yeah. This is the best
this
game they
season.
played.
No doubt.
Hands down.
This is the test. This is what everyone's been chirping about.
Yeah.
The Eagles have the second easiest schedule. They haven't played anybody. They played the Giants 3 times. They played Dallas. This is the one. This is what we've been waiting for. The pressure cooker. Can they hold up against the #1 defense in the league? I mean, if they come out and they march right down the field, that's a huge ego hit for a #1 defense, and they will be on their heels. The speed of the Niners linebackers, they can't just come because you have to read. This offense makes you wait.
Yeah, it slows you down
before you can just commit.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, do they gamble sometimes? Do they just send a backer over to A gap to hit Hurts as he's doing that play fake? Those are the kind of things I'm thinking the Niners have to do to put them behind the sticks, make it 2nd and 15. Not because I was talking to Rob during the break. You don't see the Eagles lose yardage. You don't see them in the negatives because of this read offense. You don't see them getting stopped for -3, -4. I mean, I don't know, 5 times this year I've seen them get hit for -3.
Yeah, right. No, look, here's the thing, too, about the Niners. Just to put
they
it in
perspective. They got to sell out a little bit.
They haven't lost since 8 days before Halloween.
Yeah,
October 23rd is the last time they lost a football game, man.
The 3rd-string quarterback.
That's crazy.
The system. That's the system doing that.
They haven't lost since McCaffrey became a full-time starter for them. They haven't lost with Purdy starting. Like, this team is coming in scorching. So there isn't even a team that comes close to being as good and playing as hot as this Niners team the Eagles have played all year. Not even close.
Defensively, the Niners are not going to have the time to strike deep.
Yeah.
They're just not. The defensive line is too aggressive, too wild, too fast. So they're going to have to move Purdy around to take that initial sack, so make this guy come here and then there in another angle after Purdy to buy some more time. That's the reason to roll him out, to buy time. He's not going to sit there and throw an 8 or 9 route, a deep ball that takes 4 or 5 seconds to get off. You don't have that time with the Eagles. So I feel like they're going to do a lot of screens, a lot of play action fake to McCaffrey. Let that line come and just dump over top of them, and that's why these linebackers got to get on their skates and get sideline to sideline, or it'll be a long day. But Purdy's not going to pick you apart from 20 yards out. They're going to pick you apart from 20 yards in, moving that line around.
It's true.
Yeah, and by doing that, they're going to eat the clock.
Oh yeah, well, but that's the game plan.
That's the
Eagles.
formula.
Keep
That's
them
the
off
only
the field.
thing that beats them is them and the clock.
Eat the clock.
And the Niners have an offense that can sustain consistently through this game 10 to 15 play drives.
Yeah. Now, remind me what John McMullen said when I asked the question about the coin toss. The Niners should defer and put that number one defense up against the Eagle offense right out of the box.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do
Yes.
as a coach. I want the ball in the second half.
Yep.
And here, you go deal with my number one defense. Let's find out early what you're trying to do and start changing that game plan. Shanahan's great at that. He's a great in-game.
He is.
Yeah, no, he really is good, dude. He really knows how to adjust.
He was born into this league. He was born into this league.
Yeah, it's in his blood.
All right, good stuff on the road to Glendale as we broadcast to you along with Rob Ellis and the coach, Henry Racich from Screwballs. We'll get our picks and predictions on the other side. Will the coach,
nail it again,
the self-proclaimed number one Eagles fan?
No, that was. Now you changed the tagline. I don't even remember the old one. I never made that up.
No, the old one was the old one was the self-proclaimed king of the coaching world.
Yes.
And I never self-proclaimed that.
He's the king of predictions.
Yeah. But funny enough, the anniversary was in 2017. The Eagles beat the Vikings 38-7.
Yeah,
that's right.
I did see that posted.
Isn't that crazy?
That's weird.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens. We'll get to a break. One segment to go on the road to Glendale. Back in a moment.
Hey Eagles fans, welcome to the road to Glendale. We did it in 2017 in Minneapolis, and our quest to do it all over again in Arizona starts right now. My name is Joe Messa. I'm an Eagles season ticket holder and a lawyer. I fight for Philadelphians every day who are victims, injured by the negligence of corporations, the medical industry, and others. Enjoy this playoff special with a lineup of all-stars: Mark Farzetta, Derek Gunn, Devin Caney, Mike Missinelli, and Eagle Hall of Fame linebacker Seth Joyner. The road to Glendale runs through Philadelphia. Let's go Birds.
And welcome back, everyone, to the road to Glendale from Screwballs. Looking forward to our deciding, or the audience deciding tonight, who will win the pass to get into the link.
That's it.
On Sunday for the 3 p.m. kickoff. It's the Eagles and the Niners, the best challenge for this football team this season.
And by the way, the best challenge for the 49ers, too.
Yeah, right.
If you look at the run, and look, it's unbelievably impressive to do what they've done. They haven't exactly beaten, the greatest teams in the world, either up until the playoffs. I mean, Dallas' win last week was a quality win, but they didn't exactly tear the world up. That's why it's a little bit unfair when people are saying that about the Eagles. There's not a ton of great teams in the league
right now.
So it's hard to play a juggernaut every year.
Teams 8 and 9 making the playoffs.
Yeah, and look, they got to go on the road. They got to take on a team that had the best record in football. They got to go take on a team that defensively was the best in the league against the pass. Where they were third in takeaways, third in turnover differential. I mean, the Eagles' stats almost across the board match up with anybody, universally. So this is going to be, like I said earlier, man, this is two big boys in the middle of the ring that are throwing some haymakers on Sunday. It's going to be
fun. What will we see that would put us in a situation where we could potentially lose this game, Coach?
Turnovers, mistakes.
Yep.
The only thing that ever stopped this Eagles offense is the other team keeping them off the field or just silly mistakes, and they don't make a lot of them. Jalen doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So anything short of bad luck, I mean, I still think that the Eagles are the best team left in the playoffs. I just think bad luck. And sustained drives. Now, if the Niners can do multiple sustained drives and wear down that Eagles front, make them run, do the slip screens, make them, make Fletcher Cox, make all those guys get out of that A and B gap and sprint to the sideline as many times as you can, chasing Debo, chasing McCaffrey. That's it. You got to wear them down, and that's your only chance.
Yeah, run defense for the Eagles is enormous here, Joe. You can't allow third down conversions, sustained drives, Jalen Hurts and the offense twiddling their thumbs on the sideline, not getting in the game, and then just eating clock and wearing you down. You can't do that. That was my key to last week. First series of the game, Eagles go down there and score, and then conversely, defensively, 3 and out. It wasn't a 3 and out. They actually held them on a 4th down, which showed you Dable knew that it was going to be a long day. He was going for it that soon. But anyway, regardless, there was no points that they came away with. And that game was pretty much over by the second quarter. I don't think that's going to be the case this week, but you got to get stops on third down.
I mean, as a defensive coordinator, the Eagles' offense is a rhythmic offense. If they have one play and you stop that play, they have an answer for that stop. And if you stop that, they have an answer for that stop. Every single play has 2 other plays that look similar to it that feed off of it.
Yeah.
So if you can keep that offense off the field where they never establish that rhythm, they never establish the second level, third level tier of plays, that's how the Commanders took them. These are teams that aren't even close.
They laid the blueprint initially.
Yeah, they laid the blueprint earlier in the year, and these teams aren't even close to the talent that the 49ers have. So if the 49ers go back and look at game tape, they're like, wow, the Bears and the Commanders took them to the 9th round, pretty much. Low-scoring game. So I kind of expect a lower-scoring game because of the defenses that are on this field. But it's going to be a battle of attrition. Whoever has the ball last, it could be tie with whoever has the ball last in this game. And that's the first time this year. So it's the first time this year this Eagles offense knows we're playing the number 1 defense. Now, you could say I don't care that they're number 1, but you do. They didn't get there out of 32 teams for no reason. So, and again, then on the offensive side, Purdy, was he the last pick?
He was Mr. Irrelevant. He was the very last pick of the draft.
In the whole entire draft. And this kid is under pressure and has handled it. Like, I don't think he gets rattled here.
Yeah. Some guys
What's
just have that
rattled
gene.
about? He's not this is what I would say to him if I'm Shanahan. Listen, you realize you're the last pick. We all know that. You're really not supposed to be here yet. Maybe you'd be a starter for us in a couple seasons, but you're here, so let it go. Let it rip, kid. Go have a good time. We put no pressure on him. Whatever you do, if you make a mistake, we got your back. So
you got this far doing it a certain way. We're not changing it, man.
Right.
We're going to keep doing it the way we're doing it.
He's a little bit of a gunslinger. He's, a little Brett Favre, little Nick Foles with this magic run he's having. They're having the same magic run on the West Coast that the Eagles had in 2017.
They are.
So this is a really interesting game. X's and O's. This is the X's and O bowl right here because these two teams.
By the way,
who
gets the advantage there?
That's a good question.
X's and O's.
The Birds.
Sirianni?
Yeah. I'm not saying coaching brilliance. I'm just saying this scheme is so hard to stop.
Yeah,
you can't
game plan.
You can't game. All right, Tom Brady, he's going to sit in the pocket. You can do loops and stuff. You can't do that. You have to stay home and run first every play. Run first. That holds all the linebackers all the time. That's why A.J. Brown is near impossible to stop a slant because the backers can't bail and get out on that slant. So they have to wait to see, make sure he didn't hand it off, make sure he didn't keep it, and now he's throwing it. Come on. It's a kind of a pick your poison. It's a roll the dice league. That's why I'm saying if I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm looking at play calling patterns of Nick Sirianni on first down, second down, third down, because they're rarely second and 15. They're rarely, they don't get penalized a lot, so they're not second and 20. But I just try to pick up every coach has a pattern. Every coach has a tell. And I think Nick Sirianni does a really good job at disguising it. But every coach at their core is readable. And I don't think anyone's just figured out Nick Sirianni yet.
Well, let me give you one.
If you think he's going to run, he's passing all day. If you think he's going to pass all day, he's running all day.
I agree with that.
So
I think he and Steichen have been on a nice roll here, really, virtually the entire
Very impressive.
season.
Very impressive.
They've lost one game, Joe, with Jalen Hurts playing. They're 15-1 with him as the starter.
Right.
How does he not get the MVP
Right. Well,
when he misses 2 games and they lose?
They lose
and
both
they
of those
look
games.
horrible. How is that not the most valuable player in the league?
I don't know how Sirianni's not in the Coach of the Year
How is that
candidacy
not
either. The guy won the most games in
bad press
football.
for Philly, man. They don't get any love.
But I would say there's a million X factors, but the biggest one is the quarterback for the Eagles. When he plays, they win. When he plays, they win. And he got through last week clean. He said, look, am I 100% no, but I think he's fine. I mean, he's good enough. That, to me, with him playing, they're a completely different team. Ultimately, there's a lot of different ways you go. You go lines, and you look at a lot of different things. Quarterback. Who's got the better quarterback if this is a tight game? The Eagles do. I'm sorry. Purdy's been a great story, but if I have the game to win, or if I'm taking my choice of which one of these quarterbacks, it's not even close. It's Jalen Hurts.
I'm going to tell you right now, the 49ers are going to take shots at Jalen Hurts. He's going to give the ball. They're going to try to lay him out. They might take a 15-yard penalty for some kind of roughing or something.
I believe it.
They're going to try to hurt him in this game.
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yep.
And they can because of this read offense they have. He can give it, and the backer can just wallop him
100%.
after he gives him the ball. So Hurts has to keep his head on the swivel after giving the ball.
Yeah, and this is the hands down the best linebacking core they face.
Because they can spy him.
Oh,
now, these
guys are good.
linebackers
And they
can
can
spy
run.
Jalen Hurts.
They're
fast enough.
Warner and Greenlaw and these guys are beasts, and Warner especially can cover. He was covering CeeDee Lamb at one point last week. He can cover wide receivers. He can cover tight ends.
Yeah, he jumped out of the box and went on a 45-degree angle down the field.
Insane
with
athlete.
Lamb.
He's insane.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jalen Hurts is going to have to play his best game. And, again, they just can't they can't give the ball up, not to this defense. The defense is ferocious.
And for the most part, other than maybe the Washington game, which some of it wasn't his fault, he doesn't turn the ball over.
No, he
just doesn't.
I mean, how many times we haven't said it one time? I don't think I've said it one time this year. Jalen, what are you doing? Like, he
doesn't make the boneheaded.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Before we sign off here on the road to Glendale, picks, final scores from Rob Ellis and the coach. Of course, Rob, you go first because
he has to go last.
He has to go last.
Okay. I think it's a lower scoring game. I don't think this is a high scoring game. I think it's a game that's going to come down to the Eagles get an interception on Purdy, which seals it, Joe. That's how this game is going to – Eagles will be leading. It'll be close. 49ers get the ball back, and Purdy throws a pick, which seals it. So I think the Eagles win the game. 2017 will be the final. 2017.
Coach, all yours.
I'm right there. I'm right there with him. I think it's 24-21 Birds. Field goal to win it. Field goal to win it. And I think they put a nice long drive together to get in field goal range, and they win it with a field goal.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it. We'll see what.
It'll be fun.
We'll see what happens. It's a statement of doubt or a statement of hope.
It's going to be a great game no matter what. It's going to be a great game.
We'll see what happens.
Glass is half full.
Yes, sir, on Sunday. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the road to Glendale across the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel.
What a crowd. What a crowd.
We will have some fun.
Unbelievable.
When we sign off. Good night, everybody.